Today we're welcoming Allison Pazuk to the show. I'm very excited about this episode. She has some great information out there. People have a lot of disempowerment when it comes to this topic. And I find that more empowerment and more education that we have, because we tend to fear what we don't understand, the better. So welcome to the show, Allison.
Thank you so much, Anthony. I'm honored to be here and really looking forward to connecting with your audience and just sharing our journeys.
Sounds awesome. Yeah. Speaking of that, I'm very curious. Like, what is your story, and how did you get into helping people in terms of this topic in the first place?
Well, that could take an hour to get through that whole thing, so I'll try and sum it down and bring it down a little bit. Um, Essentially, I was a teacher for 27 years, high school math teacher, and really love helping people and really love connecting with people and sharing knowledge. However, everyone who's been in school recognizes that there's all sorts of germs. It's like a germ pit that's in there type of thing. So my immune system would take the toll for 27 years. I started realizing I am destined for more. I've got a deeper purpose, but I don't know what it is. Then discovered entrepreneurship, which was so exciting, and started down the real estate journey. Then, I know this all sounds like it's all scattered, but it does tie together. Then when the market turned, we ended up owing a crap ton of money to hard money lenders. We had a lot of stress. So I was shouldering most of it because I was the one that took my husband and I down this path. So a lot of stress from school, a lot of immune abuse, shall I just say. And then the stress of near bankruptcy. And essentially, over time, your body goes, you know what? I'm going to send in that sledgehammer and make you pay attention and make you rest. So I knew something was off. However, in 2023, I was diagnosed with stage 3C ovarian cancer. So it's heading towards stage 4. And me being me, I just went, oh, interesting. Okay, well, here's another journey. We have to get through this. So it was me understanding why, like where did this come from, and my resolve and my determination that this was just a redirection. This is not the end of my story. So at that point, I'm sure you've got other questions. We can get into the details, but it was me recognizing and visualizing that this is not the end. And so that was in May that I was diagnosed. By September for surgery, the surgeon said there's nothing there. So she went in to do surgery and couldn't find anything. And so that in a nutshell is that's my story and how I recognize that I just want to help other people who are newly diagnosed and are facing this chaos, and what can they do?
Wow, that's an incredible story. I mean, what I find as well is like we kind of go along our lives, and something kind of like comes in our lives and wakes us up in a sense, right? Like kind of seemed to be the story for you. Like we have these massive challenges in our lives, and how we deal with them is really where it's at, because you turned around and said, hey, I'm actually going to help people with this challenge. So it's a really beautiful thing there.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. So what happened exactly? Like, did you get well? Were you able to kind of come out the other side with like information to help people, or kind of discover the industry itself?
I could say yes to answer all of that. I discovered that I needed to blaze my own path. So it was not just being a statistic, not just following what the doctors were saying, but researching and understanding what is right for me, being able to blaze my path, not just because the doctor's wearing a lab coat and saying, thou shalt do this, that I just follow it. So that's essentially what I did. I ended up doing a lot of integrative things as well as the traditional. So I'm not dissing medicine by any means. There is a time and a place for it. I did go through chemotherapy. I did lose all of my hair. Found ways now after the fact that that's not needed, or you can reduce that, which I've shared in the book as well. I did high dose vitamin C, fasting. Those two were really and truly the big supports for the chemo. And so utilizing them, plus mindset, journaling, visualization. If any of your listeners, they may be familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza, with,
Yeah.
he's a lifesaver, let me tell you. So
I read all his books. I mean, a huge fan of Dr. Joe. Yeah, definitely into like quantum mechanics and all that. I mean, information is so powerful. It's just people are able to take it in.
yeah. The one thing I do want to share though is when you're faced with this and you've got all of these crazy terms and the medical jargon in the medical world, they obviously understand what they're talking about, but I didn't know what any of this meant. And where was I going with this? That's a good question. That's hilarious that I've lost track of where I was going with my point. It'll come back to me. Let's go on to the next question.
Yeah, all good. So you talk about challenging kind of the conventional therapies and dogma around it. Like you said, like everything has its place in a sense, but I feel like if you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? So essentially, there's so many options, but if we're only taught one thing, that's all we know. And you talk about going beyond that. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. You need to understand what it is that is happening to your body and the reason why they're recommending what it is. So deep research is needed on your part. And that's a tough one when you're faced with the overwhelm, the chaos, the lack of control. You just kind of feel like you've been plopped into, say, an Alice in Wonderland world where everyone knows this language and you don't have a clue which way you're supposed to go. So again, make sure you're asking questions. You have to have deep understanding. The statistical biases. The doctors will say, yes, but statistically, this is what you need to do. This will tie into what I was going to say before, is when I started asking, okay, yes, but, I used to say that a lot, yeah, but, where are the survivors? What did they do? What was their path like? And they always said, well, for us, long-term survivor is 5 years. So I don't know about you, but to me, that's not long-term. That's really short-term for 5 years. So I would say, okay, what about the people who are 20-year survivors, 10-year survivors? Oh, well, we don't track that. So they only keep records of their the people who were in their care for up to 5 years. So I started diving into, well, where are these other people? What did they do? And that's a hard wormhole to go down, is trying to find survivors. Thankfully, YouTube has a fair number on them. And there's a book by, my goodness, it's called Radical Remission. And it's a fantastic book, and it has all sorts of stories of different survivors who have had radical remissions, and that was a key point for me. Just seeing the main things that they did, which is exactly as I mentioned: high-dose vitamin C, fasting, journaling. Some of them used mistletoe therapy, some of them used... So researching it all and then going, okay, what do I want to do? What is right for me? So,
Makes sense. Yeah, I mean, because as I was saying, there's so many options, and if we just start to kind of go outside the conventional paradigm, we see that people are getting well a lot without conventional therapy, right? And so just being able to have examples as well, and just studying different things like things you just mentioned, I think that's really powerful because do you know of the statistics that when it comes to how many people are diagnosed, like where are the statistics when it comes to that?
They're saying that in the very near future, and I think it's 2030 is their predictions, it will be 1 in 2,
Wow.
which is horrifically scary that it's 1 in 2. So then you have to start saying, why? Why is cancer rising with the amount of money that is going into research for cures? Why is that happening? And I allude to it in the book, but again, it's one of those things that you really need to look at. Our nutritional sources, this is a big wormhole, by the way, but nutritional sources and what we're buying in grocery stores we're being manipulated by the big corporations. Everything is coming down to the economic benefits for businesses as opposed to what is healthy for us. Big pharma, and I know that could make it sound like a conspiracy. Again, I'm not saying that. It's all about being aware of what you're dealing with. They want to keep you sick because that's how they make money. But going back to grocery stores, even farmers markets, you need to ask questions like, you say pesticide free, but do you spray with other things? Because there's plenty of other sprays besides pesticides that are not good for you. With the label organic, they can still spray, they just aren't spraying pesticides. So you really need to talk to your farmers. You need to be able to know where your food is coming from or grow it yourself. That's the best option, is possible, is growing it yourself. I feel like I've gone on a little bit of a country road to answer your question. I'm not sure if I got there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, 1 and 2, that's pretty substantial. I mean, just think about it for a moment, right? And a lot of us, we don't really know what causes cancer. At least that's what we say. But the reality is we kind of do in a sense. Of course, it's gonna be different for each person, but like there's something called carcinogens, right, or cancer-causing agents. And based on your perception and the work that you've done, do you see like any environmental factors that really play into this?
As I mentioned, it's the food that we eat and the food we have readily available is on the shelves to benefit the businesses that brought them to you. So, yeah, like our soils have been depleted. They don't have the nutrition in them that they used to because we're over farming on those same soils. You've had a podcast episode on your channel here about ultra processed food. The labeling that is on there, that they use these big fancy words that you have no idea what it is. I mean, if you pick up a product and the ingredients list is this big, just put it down. You don't even need to read it. Just put them down. The human body, if you think about it, way back when, genetically, we were designed for whole foods, fruits and vegetables, fresh meat from a kill. It's not all of the processed stuff that, unfortunately is so convenient, so easy, so inexpensive that we just grab them and without knowing the long-term consequences of what it's doing. I also think, just going back to what you said about the cause of cancer and everyone being different, I do think stress is a huge part of it. Stress is insidious. Like, in our hurry up society, that especially with our phones, like it's just jumping. Even before this, I was on talking to my husband, uh, dealing with technical issues, two other conversations that are going on over text, and I'm like, my goodness, we just aren't focused on one thing. We're always jumping, and it takes a toll on us.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like there's something called greenwashing, right, in terms of nutrition, and this is basically how the processed food companies kind of they put labels on there to make them sound healthy, like heart healthy or whole grains added, like things like that, right? But if you actually look at the ingredients, like you're saying, they're not healthy at all. And eating a real food, like food that actually came from nature, that's the most important thing. Because food that made in the lab last week, it's like, our genes don't have any recognition of that. So I mean, that would just make sense that, I mean, there's like cell mutations and things like that. So
Absolutely. And I will say the one app that I would highly recommend your listeners grab is, and I don't know if it's Yuka or Yucca, but Yuka. You just have to scan the UPC on a food and it will tell you, it'll rate it good, bad, or ugly, basically. And then it tells you why it's not good. So just as you're saying, you can grab something which is, chickpeas or some sort of a snack that sounds super healthy, kale chips or something along that lines, and then you scan it and it's full of additives. And it says, here's a high risk additive, here's another additive, and it will have like 7 additives in it. And it's understanding. My dad in particular, he's been a challenge to try and convince that there is manipulation going on. Anyway, he downloaded this app. He spends hours going through the grocery store now, and he's saying, I can't believe all the stuff that's in there. This is crazy. So highly recommend the app.
interesting. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So, like when it comes to other environmental factors, because nutrition is obviously a big one, but are there certain contributors that maybe most people won't think of, like I don't know, EMFs or something, like anything that would come to mind?
Yeah, I would say EMFs are one. I haven't gone down that wormhole far enough, but it is on my investigative list. We do make sure that our Wi-Fi is turned off and phones and everything are on airplane mode. I don't have anything Bluetooth on, wearables. I just won't do it. My theory, and it's only a theory, like I had ovarian cancer on the same side that I carried my phone in my pocket all the time.
Wow.
Is that true? I have no idea, but maybe, maybe not. Needless to say, I don't carry it on my body like that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely something for people to think about. I mean, you talk about cancer research as well. Is there something that people should know that is kind of alarming? Because, I mean, we like you said, we put so much money into it, but we're not getting results, right?
Yeah, I don't necessarily want to speak as an expert by any means in that, because I really and truly don't know. I just know that if you start researching Western medicine and how it came about, with Rockefeller and Carnegie teaming up, and I don't know if you've had an episode on that.
I've talked about it, yeah.
Have you? Yeah. So then, research it if you're part of the audience and haven't done that yet. And the Flexner report, which did do some good, it did clear up a lot of problematic schools. But when you realize that what they did is say to doctors in schools, if you introduce holistic or tried and true methods that they've used in the past rather than pharmaceutical, we will not fund you. We will charge you. I mean, there are some, and I can't speak 100%, but from what I have seen in research that there are some doctors that if they recommend holistic, they can lose their licenses, which is crazy.
Yeah.
You know, and and you can't blame doctors. They don't, I mean, you figure nutrition is our fuel. That is, they spend like a tiny, I don't know, half a course throughout all of their schooling on diet and nutrition, which is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, and like the information they're taught, it's not even really accurate. It's like funded by processed food companies. So, I mean, there's that.
Yes. Yeah, even when you realize that Weight Watchers is their parent company is a sugar company. You go, interesting. So the sugar company is funding, and Weight Watchers is under a sugar company's umbrella, sort of a vertical under their business. Makes you wonder.
Yeah.
You know, so they want you to have sugar, which, by the way, is way more addictive than cocaine. It is also in everything to keep you addicted. And then for those people that want to lose weight, they then go to Weight Watchers. Well, you're still funding this same business, right? And that's starting to head down to a conspiracy theory type of thing. But it's true, though. Your health is not paramount for your grocery store items.
Yeah, for sure. You talk about self-advocacy when it comes to treatment. What does that mean to you, and how can we start to develop this within ourselves?
Yeah, that's a big one. Is, again, when you're first diagnosed, you are so overwhelmed. You don't know what to do. You feel tied and out of control and unable to know where to turn. So self-advocacy, meaning that you need to blaze your path. You have to stand firm in you. You're the only one that knows your body. As I mentioned, I had to do, I think it was 7 or 8 chemo cycles. And after the 4th one, I knew I did not need any more. It was going to end up doing more damage to my body than good. And I mean, I had a great run through chemo with doing fasting around chemo, so 72-hour fasts, day before, day of, day after. I had very few side effects. So, and this is a water fast, so I didn't have anything else. I had aching joints, but within 3 or 4 days after chemo, I was fine. So, no nausea, none of the traditional symptoms that you think of when you think of a person going through chemo. I attribute that to fasting. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked with my own story. Your question, remind me.
Yeah, and self-advocacy.
Thank you. So even that, with going through chemo and the nurse is about to put in all of the things, and I'm like, yeah, but you know what? I'm not feeling great using. They used to give a Benadryl type of thing so that I wouldn't react to one of the chemo drugs. And she goes, oh, not a problem. Here, let me give it to you in pill form, because my veins were reacting quite strongly to this particular. So being a self-advocate in terms of speaking up.
Got it.
And as I mentioned, when I got to chemo 4, I knew it was enough. The 5th one they wanted me to do, I did do that one. Again, everyone's pushing, family included. You know, really, you can't stop now. You're so close. You've got to keep going. And I'm listening to my body, and it's like, no. And so then I went, all right, you know what? I'm going to surrender. My body will say whether or not I'm allowed to have it. And allowed is a funny word to use here. So they always take blood to make sure that your white blood cells and your neutrophils are in the right area before you can have chemo. And mine were too low. So they postponed it a week. Nope. No, my body spoke out and said, nope, we're done. So I stopped at that point, and really glad I did. I didn't need it.
Very interesting. Yeah, I mean, because we have like a lot of internal resources we can tap into. What I mean by that is we have, because if you were diagnosed, you're probably like in a stress state. Like, I mean, that's like the thing that comes to mind is like when you get that diagnosis, it's like the world ends, right? And when you're in that stress state, it's hard to make these high quality decisions. So understanding that once we almost kind of relax in a sense, we can actually start to make better decisions and actually advocate yourself, because we kind of default to authority in a sense when we're in that stress state, just because we kind of feel disempowered. But if we actually can take back that power, we can actually, even within that circumstance, we can kind of look at the doctor as a coach, right? They can have great information, but at the same time, you need to listen to yourself and what is best for you. And so I think that's very important information as well, just for people to kind of take on their own lives.
100%. And I like the way you said, think of your doctor as a coach.
Yeah.
I really like that. I might steal that from you. And also looking out to other people as well. So naturopathic doctors, use them as a resource and a coach. I would not recommend Reddit at all, but
yeah, it makes sense. I mean, because also perhaps another thing would be get like multiple opinions, right? Because if you're diagnosed with something, maybe just go to another person and maybe see if they have the same thing, right? Because a lot of times it's different, and that's what people don't think about. Like, if the person that you're working with doesn't have the same goals as you, give yourself permission to change doctors, right? If your goal is to actually get well, like naturally, and they can't help you with that, believe them, right? And this doesn't just go for cancer. Like, if they don't believe that you can get well without medication, then that's a choice you have to make at the end of the day, like, because it's your body.
that's right. And the other thing to go along with that is when you make your decision, that's your decision. To decide on something means that you're cutting off. So you're cutting off other avenues when you choose that path. So stand in that path. That is your choice for you. So don't let others sway you. So when you were mentioning, ask others their opinions, definitely, but also recognize the source from which it's coming.
Yeah.
Your neighbor who's walking the dog might say, oh, you know what? I heard that if you tried kale and you just only ate kale, it will cure cancer. Well, where's that coming from? Really and truly, you want to reach out to the doctors, to the naturopaths, to functional medicine doctors, to energy healers, to, Eastern medicine, Chinese medicine, whatever it is that your intuition says, hey, let's explore this. They're the experts in their field. So take their advice and then make your decision that's right for you.
100%, because we can get pressured in decision making, and they may mean well, but at the same time, like, just gotta relax a little bit, because just kind of trust the process in a sense.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah, you have an acronym called BONKERS, right? Do you want to go through that and explain what that means for people?
Yeah, I will. I just, the book, the title, Going Bonkers with Cancer, I've had some people look at it and go, what are you, making fun of cancer? And that it just is quite a shock. But bonkers is an acronym. And besides the fact that is truly the way you feel when you're diagnosed, you feel bonkers. Which way am I going? But the B in bonkers stands for brave. So you've got to have deep courage when you are standing in your path that's right for you. You've got to be open and be curious. So the O is for open, being open and curious and exploring all the options that are available, as we've mentioned, that are on your path. What's next? B-O-N. N is non-conforming. So, you're not playing by the cancer rules. You're conforming to yourself, but you're being non-conforming in the traditional path. Now, maybe the traditional path is right for you, so you research all the other options, and then you go, nope, this is right for me. 100%. You've got to do what's right for you. K is for kick-ass. So you have to have that kick-ass strength, that fierce tenacity to be able to, face up to the oncologist. And we were always taught that the professionals are always right. You've got to listen to the doctor. You shouldn't question authority. I'm giving you permission to question it. So you've got to make sure that you're a kick-ass in that sense. E is emotional. So you will go through a crap ton of feelings. Every single one of those feelings is real and is valid, and you need to sit with those. One thing I did do, which was upon recommendation of Forbes Riley when I was on a call with her, she said I should do a vlog to myself. So literally it was a video journal. So I would sit there every day with my phone talking to myself, for me only. And it was so weird at first to be looking at yourself and talking to yourself. Hey, how are you doing? Well, I know how I'm doing because I'm me, But going through those feelings and emotions that you don't have to share with anyone else, but you're addressing them and you're recognizing them. So that's what the E is for. R is for resilient. So it will take a toll on you. It'll take a toll on you physically and mentally. But you need to be resilient to be able to get through it and believe in yourself. Because the human body and your soul is incredible. And then the last one is S for self-advocacy. Which we have touched on a little bit. So you've got to make sure that you advocate for yourself. So that's the acronym that's behind Bonkers. So I always say to people, just make sure you stay bonkers. Just go bonkers.
Well, I like that. I mean, because we can actually apply that to many challenges in our lives, right? So that's what I like about that as well. I mean, because we're all going to have challenges in our lives, some bigger, some smaller, but the more that we can rise to the occasion, I feel it better, because ultimately, a lot of things that happen, they may not be our fault, right? But it's our responsibility, which means that we get to decide what happens next. And just being self-empowered is the key, because, like I said, things are going to happen, but is this going to control my life, or am I going to decide the future and the trajectory of how things are going to be?
Yes.
Absolutely. I mean, another thing you kind of mentioned a little bit, but when we're talking to our doctors, it's kind of self-advocacy in a sense, but basically questioning them in a sense that is respectful, right? But essentially trying to get different information that they may be putting out, because a lot of people are afraid to do that. They're afraid to challenge the quote authority. How do we do that?
Pleasantly persistent, as I like to say. So understanding where they're coming from, that again, they are doing the best they can with the information they have. So, and I also, when I was going through it, I had the time to do the research that they don't have, because they have a practice, they have other patients, they are busy and overworked as doctors. So what I would do is I would go in, they'd test me out, they'd say, okay, this is what we're doing. And I'd say, okay, can you help me understand? I love using those words, highly recommend it. Can you help me understand why this is right for me? Can you help me understand how this is my next right step? And a lot of the time they stop and they say, well, that's because of what's next in your cancer treatment? Like, and it's just like, okay, is this my cancer treatment, or is this what you give everyone who walks through your door? And they will generally say that this is the protocol for, in my case, ovarian cancer. This is what we do. It's not specific to me. So with the research that I was doing, and for instance, the fasting, they said to me, you don't want to be fasting. Like, why would you fast? And so me going in armed with the medical, the different documentation. When I say medical, there's been different trials that have been run on it. I do have all of the links. I've got a huge resource section in the book for people to shorten their timeline with their research that I have. But I'd go in there and I'd say, well, listen, I've got the article. Would you like it? Would you like me to send you the article that is showing that fasting takes chemotherapy and makes it so much more effective by like 300%? And they're like, oh, she kind of knows what she's talking about. So it gives them a chance. You're not just a wingnut saying, oh, I want to just starve myself for a little while. There's reason behind it. So going in there confident and competent, backed by pieces of paper, notes, put things in a Google Drive folder, anything that will help you feel more confident when you go in there and challenge them in a way to help you yourself understand.
Yeah, what people don't understand is these doctors don't always have time to read the research. I mean, a lot of times, like, they're giving these summaries by medical reps, right? And they're not actually going through the data themselves. Because we give them so much power, and most of them, they mean very well. Like, they got into this place to help people, but they're taught the things that are making people sick, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. And of course, it has a place, but for the most part, we can do things naturally, I find. And getting to a place of empowerment and asking these questions, like this is kind of like your doctor being a coach, right? Instead of this authority figure. And I think that's really important for people to know as well.
Mm-hmm. And I think if we start using that word as coach, that might help to swing the mindset for those of us as patients going into the doctor, that they're a coach. They're there to give you suggestions and advice, and it's up to you to whether or not you want to go in and play their game.
100%. And you talked about like, they use all these big words and medical jargon, right? And we, like I said, we tend to fear what we don't understand. And we're in this place of vulnerability, in a sense. And they're using all these words that we don't know, but then we don't understand what they mean. And, we're just kind of pulled into these different directions. So, I mean, I think awareness is really the first step to change. Do you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And becoming a little bit more familiar with what the terms mean. So, for instance, with me, after all of this happened and I got the email, it was great timing. It was January 1st of last year, 2024. So great way to start the year, January 1st. Get the email, no evidence of disease. So getting that email, I'm like, woohoo! I can't wait to go in and see the oncologist. They're going to congratulate me. And went in, and she's a fantastic person, by the way. She has zero bedside manner, but absolutely brilliant. So I went in there ready for this party type of thing, and she said, okay, great. So now we need to get you on other medicine so that it doesn't come back. And I said, what do you mean, come back? And she says, oh, well, it will come back within 3 years. And I'm like, no, it won't. And anyway, we just went back and forth a little bit on that. And so I just said, okay, I need to understand this. How can you say it will come back? And so then she says, well, listen, I'll send you in, because by then she had known all of my questions. So she was, okay, I'll send you some information. Take this home, take a look at it, do your research, and then let me know when you're ready to start. So I did that, and this went on for 3 months. Like, I did not make the decision right away, and she was pushing. She was saying, you need to start this right away. And then I said to her, why do I need to start this right away? And after enough of me rephrasing the question 15 times, she said, because there's a trial that I want you to be part of for this drug. And she says, and you have to have it in by such and such a time. And I said, listen, I'm all for clinical trials, for helping people, but I'm making the decision for me not to participate in a drug trial. So, you know, we ended up, rather than being on 300, I think it's 300 milligrams of a drug, I'm on 100. I've been on it for 2 years. Nothing has changed. My numbers are all really low. There's zero evidence of anything returning. I know it's not coming back. So
Yeah.
that's also another important piece. But yeah, just it's that self-advocacy and standing in your power and thinking of them as a coach, not your God.
What an like insane thing to say to somebody, you know, like you always went through all that and be like, oh, it's going to come back.
Yeah, it was devastating. I was so upset that day, and yeah, it took me down a little bit of a wormhole again, acknowledging the feelings, and then going, you know what? No, I'm going to prove you wrong. Now, that's my personality as well. If you tell me that I can't do something, it'll be like, yeah, hold my beer. But,
Yeah, I mean, I find that a lot as well. Like when people they get well naturally from anything, their doctor just kind of writes it off, like, oh, just a spontaneous remission, right? And they often don't want to hear what the person did. They don't want to ask questions, and just kind of mind-boggling in a sense.
it is, and I have to say that I've heard this so often from not only my own doctors, but also from people who have reached out to me, and I've sent them early copies of the book 'cause it's only just out. So I sent them early copies, and they're going through it, and guess what? Their doctors are saying the same thing, and that is, I don't know what it is you're doing, but keep doing it.
Yeah. I mean, not all of them. Like some of them, they started out in the medical system and they transitioned to like functional medicine. So people that wake up in a sense, but at this point, it's a vast minority that do that. But
Yes.
yeah, I mean,
And that was the nice thing. My naturopathic functional medicine doctor started off down the regular doctor route, and then realized partway through that she wanted to help people, and that's what she said to me. I just wanted to help people, and this route of the medical, traditional pharmaceutical doctor wasn't going to cut it. So she switched and went to naturopathic, spent more time in school. It's kind of scary when you realize the length of time for naturopathic doctors over regular doctors.
yeah, I mean, you also mentioned high dose vitamin C. Do you want to talk about that a little bit and how that helped you?
Sure. High dose vitamin C is very different than the vitamin C you get in the little bottle, the orange Flintstone type tablets. High dose vitamin C is an IV, and you get 50 grams of vitamin C in your dose. The vitamin C is a pro-oxidant, and what that means is that it will go into a cancer cell and help with, okay, I'm not a science biologist here, but with free radicals.
Yeah.
So it helps essentially weaken the cancer cells, but it doesn't affect the regular cells. If you were to try and ingest vitamin C, for starters, if you took 50 grams, you'd be really sick because that's way too much to eat orally. But your intestines end up getting to the saturated point, and then you end up just peeing everything out. So you aren't able to take in orally the correct amount of vitamin C. So it has to go in through an IV for it to have the same effect. It's got so many benefits. It helps with chemo efficacy, helps with quality of life, side effects. It boosts your immune system, which was really what's needed, because when you're hitting those chemo drugs and your body is battling and cleaning out all of the diseased cells and that kind of thing, your immune system is working really hard. So if you go into an environment where someone is, maybe got a cold virus or something, then you don't want to introduce that also into your body. So vitamin C will support your immune system. It in and of itself is toxic to cancer cells, so it will also help to destroy them. What else can I tell you about it? I was taking it twice a week, so I would have an IV drip on Monday and also on Thursday, and they're not cheap. They're $170 here in Canada per infusion, and they're not covered by any benefits. I know in the States you don't have that quite as readily as here in Canada, but wasn't covered, so I was paying for all of that. It's an added expense, but when it comes in terms of your life, it's priceless. I'm now down to once every 2 weeks I get it, and man, do I know when I need it. By the time I'm getting closer to it, my body's like, okay, I'm so tired. Where am I getting my vitamin C? So.
Yeah. Very cool. I mean, I've done that in the past, just like as a health treatment. And like you said, like the free radicals, those are basically, I mean, you can think of aging, right? That's what it is. Free radicals, aging. And they require antioxidants in order to get neutralized. So basically that's the vitamin C, and what it is basically providing free electrons, which is you can just call those antioxidants, like free electrons, antioxidants. And the free radicals, they require a free electron in order to get neutralized. They're just some basic things there, but I think that's very something that people should think about in terms of alternative treatment as well.
Yeah, and the other thing I did want to mention along with that, and thank you so much for clarifying the free radicals, is with the vitamin C, in the medical world, they will say, oh, no, that doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. Because way back when, the Mayo Clinic did a trial with vitamin C. They had seen from a trial before that it was showing promise with cancer treatment. So then the Mayo Clinic decided to run a trial. So they started to run the trial. After 2 months, they stopped it and then went into chemo. Well, 2 months is not long enough to test anything, and they were doing it orally. They were not doing it intravenously. Huh. So the Mayo Clinic being such a big body that everyone goes, ooh, Mayo Clinic. Well, they said it's no good, so therefore it's no good. No one is going back and looking at the reasons why that particular trial failed. And then why haven't there been any more? Kind of comes back to what we talked about before. Vitamin C cannot be patented. So if you can't patent it, big pharmaceutical companies are not going to want to pay for the trials to occur because they can't patent a drug to pay for anything. They can't make money off of it. So it's kind of sad, but...
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, it's unfortunate, but I'm curious, like, so now that you're on the other side of this, like how does it feel? And like, what is it that you want to do? Since you've kind of come to the other side and really want to help people, like, where do you see your life going after this?
Where do I see my life going? As I mentioned, I was always looking for what is my purpose? Why am I here? Surely I can give back. Well, this was put in my path as a really obvious, hey, why don't you help people with this? So that was the main reason why I wrote the book, was to be able to share my journey, to share with people that they are able to take control of their diagnosis. What I have then created is I have a website with a whole bunch of resources on it. I'll be releasing blogs to help you get through it. I have a community Facebook group so that people can go into it and support each other, and I can help answer any questions, connect people where possible to the resources that they need. Again, I'm not an expert. I can only share my journey, but I'm able to give them the resources that I found helpful for them. I also want to be able to have recipes on there that are anti-cancer. I want to, essentially there's so much that I want to do to be able to help people. Create boot camps on how to knock sugar. Have workshops on, just little things like that. That's where I'm heading.
That's awesome. I mean, if you want to say anything to people who are just diagnosed with this, or anybody that may be experiencing a loved one with this, like, what do you want to say to them, and how can they actually start to reframe things and become more self-empowered?
That's a great question. So reflecting back to when I was first diagnosed, you feel very alone. And I want to share that you're not alone. There are a lot of us survivors that are out there that are there for you. So recognize, for starters, you're not alone. Second of all, you are in control. You have the final say as to what goes in and on your body. Look for survivors. So look for them in your community. Look for cancer support groups. Be careful to make sure that they aren't all there to commiserate and whine about their situation, but they're being proactive about their solutions and what steps they're taking. So just cautionary on that one. And buy 2 books. There's more, but there's 2 that I'd recommend. One being mine, so I'm able to help you. And then the second would be the Radical Remission book. It's Kelly Turner that's the author of that one. It was life-changing for me for that. Diet-wise, eliminate sugar. Any added sugar, eliminate it. Start reading your labels.
Very good. Yeah, because more information that we have, and just we can kind of make better decisions with our health, or like being more empowered, being more educated, because the information is out there. All you have to do is use it, right? Like, knowledge is not power. Knowledge applied is power and wisdom. And I find that very important as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we talked a lot about things in this interview that people need to know. We talked about the research, your story, and basically how we can become more empowered. Like, we talked a lot about like the medical system. I think that's important people to know about as well. Is there anything that you feel that people need to hear, or have we covered it?
I think, well, it's such a big topic. Like I said, we could be on it forever. I do feel that we've high level touched on everything. Maybe people could reach out to you, to me, if they want to know more, so we can support them on their journey. Mindset is super important. Journaling, supporting yourself.
Yeah. Like, a lot of self practices help you kind of contemplate. Yeah, because just being able to like think and give yourself a space to kind of relax in a sense, just help whatever is going on in your mind, just kind of like bring awareness to it.
Exactly.
Awesome. All right, so this has been awesome. Thank you for coming on the show. If people want to get connected with you and your work, where can they go to find that?
Best thing to do is to head to my website, which is my name, so Allison Pazuk, ALLISONPAZUK.com. So heading to the website, I've got all sorts of resources on there, connections to my Facebook, to social media. My handle on there is exactly the same. It's my name, so it'll be easy to find me, and I just would love to be able to support anyone I can.
Awesome. I love to hear that. I love the work that you're doing, and I appreciate you coming on and sharing all your insights with us today.
Thank you so much.
All right. Have a great one.
You too. Bye.